Okay. So the first experiences at boot camp were that there's going to be segregation here of Yankees and Rebels.
Well, that was their choice. And the funny thing that I found about the feeling of, I didn't realize that it was so bisexual or bisectional that they were still fighting the Civil War, and I did eventually, after being in the Navy 4 years, I ran into that all the time, and I to this day I believe it's still the same way. That's why I'll never go south to New Jersey.
And if you were found there, you always used to say, that means you were killed somewhere else and dragged there.
What?
If you were found south of Jersey, it means you were killed somewhere else and dragged there.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you've mentioned that to me a couple of
Oh
times.
yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
So we'll know.
And anyway, I was assigned to the USS Wisconsin first, BB-63 battleship, and we had 3,500 guys on board, and I was assigned to the fire room, which is at the time it was a steam engined ship, and while I was assigned there, I was in the Oil King gang, which is, we would balance the ship because the large tanks, there were supply tanks, would pump into the service tanks, and obviously if you're out, we would be out at sea for a couple of months, you were off balance, so we have to check it by hand. Navy doesn't use meters, I mean automatic meters. So I go around to different places and they ballast the ship by pumping the oil back and forth. In addition to that, we'd have a crew task force of destroyers with us and cruisers. Destroyers didn't have much of a capacity to hold oil, so they'd refuel with us while at sea. And the destroyer had about 350 guys on it. We had 3,500. So they'd come alongside, and we had everything on board. I mean, we had ice cream, whatever. We'd ship over ice cream while we're pumping the oil, and they'd yell back, "How do you like shore duty?"
Oh.
You know, typical Navy jokes. But anyway,
they had it tough.
The Navy, at the end of World War II, which is right after I joined, they knocked off a lot of ships. They they didn't need them anymore because the Navy had drained out of men, and they decommissioned many of the ships. So therefore, they wanted to still put reservists on their 2 weeks active duty. So they put them on board our ship and other battleships, and we were over at Bayonne Supply Depot in New Jersey, and we made 14 trips in 1946 and 47, 14 trips, round trip, to Panama, Balboa, and every other weekend we were then in Panama, and they would knock off, we had 3,500 on board, they'd knock off 1,000 guys and put 1,000 reservists on board, and we'd have action, simulated action of wartime with manning guns and so forth like that. So it was quite interesting. I vividly remember every time I went past Cape Hatteras there was a storm. And sometimes it was so hard we had to stay below because one time the waves were so hard that they impaled the safety boats on each side, port and starboard, and crashed again. You couldn't go out below the O3 level, above the O3 level. And anyway, they decommissioned the USS Wisconsin around 1947, December. Is Mom here?
She's here. She's here.
And I was then assigned to the USS Missouri. But that's the one that the Japanese signed the peace treaty on. And it was aptly named for where President Truman, God bless him, came in Missouri. So he also stopped a couple of times and visited. And while we'd go to Norfolk, Virginia quite a bit. And he'd stop by to say hello, like a very nice man. On the Missouri, we also made many trips. We went down to Chile, inauguration of Presidente Gonzalez Videlis. I went through the Panama Canal. The ship was so big you could reach out and touch the side walls of the Panama Canal. And we went to Peru and let's see, Valparaiso, Chile, Lima, Peru, and one other country down there in South America. But on the other ships, on the Missouri, we visited Scotland, England, Norway on one cruise, and we were traveling all over the place with midshipmen from Annapolis, and it was very interesting to go to all these different places and see different people. And when I got to be 21, I had signed on what they call a minority cruise. On your 21st birthday, I was eligible to leave. So I did, because in the interim, while I was in the Navy, my mother-in-law, Merciana, had passed away, and my father. My mother died from horrendous, horrible cancer, and she died very painfully. At the time, they didn't have much to do with curing anything or even sustaining people. And she was in a coma state for several days before she finally passed. The doctor, I'll never forget, when I got emergency leave to visit her, they said she was dying. And I came there, and she didn't recognize me. She was in a coma, and the doctor walked in, and he said to me, "Are you related?" I said, "Yes, my mother." He said, "Oh, I don't know why she doesn't die." He said, "She's in a lot of pain, but she won't die." I couldn't believe it. I thought it was like the movies, that he's going to walk in and have the magic pill,
Right.
you know, but he was right. He was a medical man. He knew what was happening, and she didn't want to die because she had 4 children, and she was hanging on, and so she was dedicated to the family. My father, unfortunately, had a heart attack, and he died about a year later.
Oh.
He was 43.
Oh.
And my mother was 39 when she passed away. All mercy on her. But anyway, when I came eligible to retire, to finish my tour, they tried to get me to stay in. They promised me another raise in my rank and this and that and so forth. But I had worked in the railroad for a year before I went in the Navy. I was 16. I went in and worked in the baggage department. Then I went in the Navy. So when I come out, I was still eligible to go back to the railroad. And I did. I went back to the railroad and worked there for about, let's see, 3 years, 4 years.
I'm just going to cool.
Make that 3 years because I left in '52 and went on to state police.
Okay. You left the railroad.
Left the railroad.
Okay.
Went on to state police.
Okay. And went right in. You had to take a test to get on the state police?
Yes.
Okay. That was fortuitous. And then in '63, when did you meet Mommy?
Let's see, 1963.
You married Mommy, I think, in '63.
Yeah, 1962.
Okay. And you met her out east at a golf club?
Actually, how I met her, a fellow that I worked with in the DA's office, he lived in Shoreham, the village, Shoreham.
Is that Buddy Siegel?
Buddy Siegel, and he said he had a rather large area that he lived on, and he had a little golf thing, a couple of holes there, and
Mom, I'm doing this now. I'll be.
invited me and a couple other guys to come out. A beautiful day, and we had dinner there or lunch, and we just shot a couple of golf balls. And my wife Mary was just coming back from a wedding that she was attending at a reception over in Smithtown. So that's when I first met her, and we had a discussion. And she was there for the summer with her parents, and they lived in New York City on Park Avenue. And I suggested that maybe I could drive her back rather than have her take the train and so forth. So she said yes, it's okay. So I took her back, and after that we started to date, and went to different things and so forth.
You turned up the charm on that ride, I guess. You turned up the charm on that ride.
Yeah. And so I liked her and she liked me, and we got engaged and married.
And then 10 years after you got married, Susie was born. Woo! That must have been just such a relief for you.
Well, the funny thing is, when we got married, I was 35, and Mary was about 26 or so. And we had our first child, which is your brother, David. I'll never forget the women at the time. Everybody was one child or this and that. So one of them said, "Oh, you're having a baby?" I said, "Yes." And then the baby was born. I said, "It's a boy." "Oh, it's a boy." That's, then you're all set. You said, "No." I said, "Whatever God gives us, that's what we believe." So the next time, about a year later, we had a little girl. And she said, "Oh, you got the girl and the boy." I said, "No, it's whatever God gives us, So we didn't stop there. We wound up with 6 kids.
You must get some weird looks from people. They put their expectations on you. Gotta watch out for that. So I'm learning.
Well, that's true. And I'll never forget people that we were living in Suffolk, of course, and we bought a house in this house in Huntington. Prior to that, I had a home that I bought in Central Islip. But in the interim, I met Mary, and we moved to her father's place over in Shoreham, and we decided that it was too remote for shopping, or I couldn't imagine the kids standing out in the cold snow and so forth with school buses, trying to, in rain. It's very remote out there. So we started looking for houses, and lo and behold, we looked all over, from Jamesport on the east end down to Amityville and in between. And one day, our babysitter, whose family lived right down the road, told us, "Oh, you're looking for a house. My grandfather died, and my mother and father want to sell a house." So we started the conversation, and one day we come over here to this house, and your mother, Mary, said, as we walked out the door, "That's the house I want." I said, "That's the house you got. I can't look at any more houses." And so
Bingo.
That's how we wound up here about 40 years ago. But in the meantime, it was quite an interesting thing to go to all these different places and take a look around. It's more interesting than just, I think you have to do that to appreciate where you are.
Mhm.
For instance, this is a nice neighborhood. Always has been. Has been for the 40 years we're here. All family oriented. It's changed, but it's just evolved. And it's been good. We live on a street, Crestwood Drive, that is like a cul-de-sac, so to speak, because it's a winding road that turns around, and it's off the beaten path. So the only people come here, people live here, or visit, or get lost.
That's right.
And we like that.
Mm.
The school bus used to stop right in front of our house,
Mhm.
and we're surrounded by schools, surrounded by stores, malls, you name it, supermarkets. So as the opposite of Shoreham, which is very remote.
I think I like living here better. So, just segueing off onto another topic, little Luke had some questions for you that he wanted to ask. And the first question he had is, who were the superheroes when you were a child? Who were some superheroes, or if they had comics?
Superheroes?
Yes.
You mean fictional?
Yes.
Oh. The Lone Ranger.
Okay.
And Tonto. And also the Shadow.
That's what my husband said. So do the shadow.
The Shadow,
Oh,
who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow does. Oh, there's a version of that. Yeah.
Keep me in the kitchen.
Oh boy. Okay, was there TV? When you were a kid, was there any TV?
No, there was no TV.
When did TV come on the scene? In the 50s?
Well, it came on the scene, I'm told, at 46, more or less, but we didn't have TV. We didn't have TV, my whole family, you know, while I was there.
You entertained yourselves, though.
You know, there was no TV. Radio was the big thing, and still to this day, some things I think you can see more in your imagination. I used to tell the kids, sometimes if they have the right music, the right words, and the right actors, you create a better picture in your mind than what you see on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way radio was. I still believe that. Sometimes you listen to the tapes or the recordings of the old radio shows, you don't need any pictures, you just put it in your mind.
Nick, they just passed an anniversary of Orson Welles when he did that, it was
About the aliens.
Yes. And sent, mass hysteria because
Right.
of the way the presentation was on the radio.
It.
They believed it. People were running for Long Island. I heard everybody that lived in the city was running out here.
That's right.
And they did a wonderful story of that, a documentary about it.
Psychological.
It was amazing the things that people were doing. I think some people like jumped off buildings and things. They really went over the top. Because I'm going to run out of discs, I'm going to start the penny stones, and I'm going to put the penny stones in this bag. Penny stones are, you pick one out, read it out loud.
All right, let me just see here.
Can you see? Is that your reading glasses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just give me a minute here, please.
Sure thing.
All right, it says, a favorite childhood memory. Well, I have several of those, but let me think back, childhood. Well, I wasn't a big fan of going to the beach because I get sunburned too bad. But it was always nice to go down there when it wasn't too sunny uh, and we'd go to Rockaway in the summertime. We'd get rent a house or get a room in the local. There was an Irish section in Rockaway, probably still is, and it was always a nice change from where we were, because you had the ocean and wide open spaces there, and we'd only be there about a week, but that was always nice. I liked it. It was very basic, and living in the house was sort of like you really transferred your whole self. It wasn't, well, there were a lot of people, a lot of families that did that. And in fact, most of the bars, so-called, they were family places. So you were welcome to bring your whole family. They'd have prepared food and so forth. They'd have beer or something available. But there were mostly families involved down there.
So you're safe to bring your kids in there, and
Right.
and they could run about and not worry.
Right.
Okay. I love the Rockaways too. Dear Aunt Peggy, God bless her, lived in Bell Harbor. I don't know if that's by where you went. Breezy Point's another big Irish point.
Person I'd most like to meet.
Living or deceased?
Oh. Oh, wow, living or deceased. One that sticks in my memory is John F. Kennedy, Lord have mercy on him. Not only because he's Irish American or Catholic, but he was a very intelligent and honest man, and when he was our president, it was a tragedy, even if he wasn't as good as he was, that he got murdered by a person for no apparent reason. Just an insane person, I would say. But he broke the ironclad rule of a Catholic being elected president, and it's opened up a lot of possibilities for a lot of people. And he also had many good things while he was in office that he did, and he had a wonderful record. I saw him, I never met him personally, but I saw him a couple of times as he's traveled all over, and I'd be traveling in my car, and we'd see him. I had the brothers with me one time, and they were very enthused because they came from New England, and he was from Massachusetts, and he was traveling up on like one of the bridges, and we were going the other way, and people were really, he really stirred up the people. He got them very enthused. You know, today I would personally feel there's a lot of lethargy about politicians, and most of the people you talk to, that I talk to, you talk about politics, or if not politics, the government, they turn to you and say, what does my vote mean? And that's the whole problem with the country, in my view, because people don't realize that their vote means a lot. And anyway, he came in at a hard time, and he worked very well. Everything's starting to come together, and all of a sudden, we never know. Lord have mercy on him.
So breaking out into, since you mentioned President Kennedy,
Pardon me?
since you're mentioning President Kennedy, what do you think of, just as a side note, what do you think of the conspiracy theories that the mob had him rubbed out and all of that?
I think that's probably correct.
And that Lee Harvey was just a distraction from who really was responsible
Yes,
for
I
that.
think that's correct, and I think that a lot of alleged mistakes that were made were planned. For instance, I was in the Navy, he was in the Navy. When he was shot in Texas, They took the body out right away and took it back to Bethesda Naval Hospital, and they had an autopsy performed. In the meantime, they lost the x-rays. In the Navy, you don't lose anything, but they lost the x-rays that they took, which would have debunked all those theories about a second gun or whatever. Also, the people that performed the autopsy were two young doctors of the Navy who were not forensic pathologists. And I worked in homicide. We had a forensic pathologist, one of 150 throughout the nation, Dr. Weinberg. And it's the whole thing seems to me like a scheme. It's continued to be on television and so forth, big controversy. And the reason I would say that is because he took certain actions in Cuba. And I don't trust Washington. That's the way it is. To this day, I don't trust Washington.
Right. So anything goes.
An influential person in my life. Oh, I had to go back to Sister Lawrence Imelda.
Okay.
Because she was a stand-up person, and Lord of mercy on her, she made a big impression on me that still remains. She was a wonderful teacher, and showed a lot of examples of integrity in the Catholic Church. And she and others that I've known represented the what I feel is the true mission of the Catholic Church, to get things correct and to realize that we all can make mistakes, hence confession, etc., etc., of the whole thing. And unfortunately, I feel that this country is still leaning towards Protestantism, which is not bad, except that they're protesting the Catholics. And you know, I reach out ecumenically to all my Protestant friends, but one thing about them is when they're Methodist or evangelicals or whatever, and they move out of here for whatever reason, they go someplace there isn't one of their churches, they go to that church. I mean, they just, it's like it's casual. It's not with me. Catholic, you're either Catholic or you're not Catholic. So I'm not offended by them, but I think that that's the most influential person right there.
Okay. Sister Lawrence Imelda, she gets a lot of honorable mentions today.
One word to describe your life. Interesting.
That was quick. Okay, you can't answer more than that.
The year you'd time to travel to?
A year you'd like to time travel to. Either that way or back.
Oh.
Where would you like to if they said you could time travel right now, what do you want to do?
Time travel?
You could go
What do you mean with time travel?
You could go into the future, time travel into the future, or time travel back to another time.
Okay. I'd like to time travel to the future because what's gone is gone. And if I could get a glimpse of what's happening in the future, that may make my plans a little better. Because every day is a new day. And that's part of the way I was taught by Sister Lawrence Imelda and other good people that I've met in my life. And you take one day at a time. But it's nice to know what's coming down the road or around the bend, you know. You plan a little better.
Okay. I just want to see these here. You're doing great, Dad. You got one more and you're pretty much done. You can go on, move on with your life, and your daughter will stop harassing you. At least one of them. What is, we got one more to go, and then you can do whatever you gotta do.
What?
I'm just trying to get this to open. Maybe it likes me to stand over here. Oh, I see.